Oh. Okay. Okay.
Quando você for usar o seu computador, daí a gente precisa conectar de novo aquele...
Sim.
Porque está com ele agora.
Ok.
Depois
Ok.
você avisa que eu vou
Entendi.
buscar.
Okay. Okay. So probably we can do the last part. We still have a little bit to show about quantitative models, quantitative risk models, I want to. We have illustrated two ways of do the market risk. Two possible ways. There's of course an infinite number of ways of doing it, and just a message that Solvency II tends. If I adopt the standard formula, they tend to give me a lot of methodologies and techniques and factors and everything. These we won't find in IFRS 17. Some people were asking if there's an IFRS 17 book. As far as I know, there's no IFRS 17 book. There are books about IFRS in general, right? The whole set of accounting standards, but IFRS specific, I haven't seen any book. And I think there's I don't know, things change all the time, so I don't think anybody's committed to write a book. But there's a lot of information in the internet, and also you can go to the IASB website, and there's you can download this thing for free, right? If I'm not mistaken,
What is that?
this is the IFRS 17.
Okay.
Yeah, it's but this is the official book, right? This is the official book of the IFRS 17, just a few pages, about 100 pages or so, and that's it. No formulas, no factors, no methodologies, no nothing. Just calculate the risk and we are good. No, calculate the fulfillment cash flows and we are good, right? So that would be a difference. So here I just want to very briefly to illustrate for example, here we have the non-life risk. The first sub-module would be the premium and reserve. And here we have, as definition, these are risks that arise from insufficient premiums. Okay, that's clear. Insufficient premiums, that's a risk. Larger than expected number of claims. So I expected 100 claims and I received 200 claims. Okay, so that's larger than expected amount of claims. So one is number, one is amount, and then insufficient reserves to cover obligations to the policyholders. And basically they gave me this formula, and also, they discontinued this formula. They thought that there's a very reasonable approximation, which is, this is 3 times the volume, and that's it. which I'm showing in the next screen. So the formula is now much simpler, and this is at least the premium and reserve risk is fairly easy to calculate, right? So here we have basically the method, and this is not in the Solvency II regulations. This is my own development, right? Reading that basically everything is based on you say that the premium risk is the premium and reserve risk, or the premium risk, sorry, is that claims and expenses minus P, where P is the premium, is a positive number, right? If claims and expenses are less than P, then you have no risk, right? So this is how you have the risk. And then for reserves, that claims and expenses are larger than the difference between reserve at the end of the year and reserve at the beginning of the year, and then clearly you have risk. So to estimate this thing, and this is a random variable, of course, I put a hat here, right? So this would be basically the premium risk, non-life, NL non-life, plus P, and then so this is premium reserve. This is premium and reserve. Okay, so I combined the two equations, and then how do I do the modeling? Well, they tell me that the underlying assumption is a log normal distribution. So I take the log normal of this thing, okay, and if this thing is distributed log normal, is equivalent of saying that everything here is distributed normal, because there's a correspondence between the log normal distribution and the normal distribution. So from this, I basically take that the solvency capital requirement following the metric that they tell me to use, value at risk, 99.5% confidence level. I have this type, this random variable. This is the metric, and then I subtract the expected values. So here P is an expected value, the expected value of the premium, and then I subtract the expected value of the reserve, which I know because this is beginning of year. And then there's a lemma here. If X has a log normal distributions with parameters M and S, then this is the compact formula for the variance. So from here, if you work out the mathematics, I go back, you reach this formula. It's very easy to do it, okay? I don't have it for the sake of time, and perhaps it's not that relevant, because at the end, you are going to use the, so here's the, basically, I'm not explaining, well, if I apply this lemma here, I continue here, so sorry, again, if I apply this lemma on bottom, then I am able to develop this formula where mu is the expected value of the random variable of the premium and reserve risk according to the article 105, and C is the coefficient of variation of the random variable of premium and reserve risk. So remember, coefficient of variation is sigma divided by mu. Okay. And this is the simplification. So when the delegated regulation came out, they already said, well, let's take away this formula, and then let's allow companies to use that formula on bottom, okay, on the bottom, which is only 3 times mu times the coefficient of variation, right? And that's it. Well, basically, I have also an implementation of that. The complicated thing is that you have to basically to look at the different segments, and then the coefficients of variation of the segments which are prescribed, and also the correlation matrices. Okay, but the premium and reserve risk is fairly easy. Now, lapse risk, the second one, this is a very strange thing. This is the risk of a massive cancellation of business that has a negative impact on reserves. I'm talking here non-life, of course. This risk is only relevant if, for the determination of reserves, premium payments after the valuation year are being considered. Okay, so this would be the case in some multi-year policies, but it's very, very strange. And here, basically, they use the maximum of these two things, where you have the net value at risk shocking with 50% higher or 50% lower. So you take the max of these two numbers. And that's it. So this is an example of a very, very, very easy way of calculating a lapse. The lapse risk submodule is, nothing could be easier than this formula. No programming, no nothing, right? Just one formula. Okay. Now catastrophe, right? So we saw premium reserve, we saw lapse, and then catastrophe risk. Definition: risk of financial impact due to natural and man-made catastrophes. Okay, so here they follow a factor, and again everything here is on in the standard formula context. They follow a factor approach where P is the gross premium for each line of business from 1 to 13, right? And then we have C, gross factors prescribed by EIOPA. EIOPA, again, the super regulator in Europe, responsible for developing the Solvency II regulation. Okay, so we have this. This is really a square root, because I'm raising everything to the power of 1/2. So it's really a square root formula that is composed of one square root here. So I take the sum where I is 1, 2, 3, or 5. This is 11. This is 4, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 6, and 13. So I'm covering on all numbers from 1 to 13. So in order to develop this formula, there's a lot of calibration going on, many assumptions, many approximations, etc. But it's just a single formula, and everything is mechanical. There's no complication here. And let me show the C factors. Very small letters here, but I have these 13 events. Okay, so for example, the first one is called storm. Okay, storm. And what lines of business can be affected? Well, fire and property can be affected. Motor can be affected. Motor is a car insurance, and other classes. Let's take, for example, flood, fire and property, motor, other clauses. Then we have, for example, some MAT. MAT stands for marine, aviation, transport. Okay, so if you have policies of these characteristics, this is for example, a marine accident or disaster. They call it disaster, right? So if there's a large ship that sinks or things like that, or aviation, that's clear, right? Or transport. So these are called special lines. And then you have so on the first column you have events. On the second column you have the lines of business that can affect, and then on the third column you have the factor C, gross factor C. I go back, and these are the C's that you see here, right? So and P is the gross premium for each line of business from I equal to 1 until 13. Okay. And where these factors come from, I don't know. These are the result of calibrations in the market. But then this is calibrated according to the type of natural catastrophes that are prevalent in Europe. So what kind of natural catastrophes are those? Well, in the south of Europe, there's a earthquake risk, like in Italy or Greece. There's a lot of earthquake activity. Also Turkey, but Turkey is not part of the EU. So you have this type of risk. And then in Northern Europe, you have storms, particularly winter storms. You don't have hurricanes or nothing like that, but winter storms are basically windstorms that are usually in the months of November, December, January. Very strong winds, and they impact the northern countries, and could be could bring about flood and some other type of risks. What else do you have? Well, that's about it, I think, in terms of natural catastrophes. But again, these factors are calibrated, taking into consideration the characteristics of the different countries. And then you have to see where you have exposures and do some adjustments, very thousands and thousands of factors and adjustments and everything, but easily done in you can do your Excel, if you have a standard formula, you can do everything in Excel, probably. You don't need any engine. If assuming that there are no major risks or no complications, you can deal with Excel, because everything is application of formulas and factors and everything. Okay. NPL is a non-proportional reinsurance. So NPL, non-proportional reinsurance for property, non-proportional reinsurance. I don't know why they say NPL, non-proportional. It's reinsurance. Yeah. Non-proportional lines. Non-proportional lines. So the last three, NPL, non-proportional lines, this is reinsurance, right? And by the way, insurance or reinsurance is the same for Solvency II, right? Is you can if you're so the law is for insurance and reinsurance companies. They are called undertakings, but this insurance and reinsurance is the same. Okay.
Could be liability as well.
You're right. You're right. It's not right. You're right. It's liability, non-proportional liability. I thought you dealt with life only.
Or insurance.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Thank you for that. It's non-proportional liability, but it's reinsurance. Non-proportional reinsurance liability. Yeah. For property, MAT, marine, aviation, transport, and the last one is casualty, right? And if you don't know where to put the things, put it under miscellaneous. Okay. And then this is the combined non-life underwriting capital requirement. And again, this doesn't look like a square root, but it is a square root because I'm raising everything to the 1/2 power. So it's a square root. So I have PR, premium and reserve, C for lapse, CAT for catastrophe, PR, C, okay? And then we have the correlation coefficient of 25% prescribed by law. And that's it. So again, this is something that you can, with some, if you're careful, you can do it very well in Excel. No need for an engine or anything like that. Okay. Now I was going to show this example of a line of a company that has three lines of business: fire and property damage, third-party liability, and business interruption, and with some premiums on this is the input that you need, right? So you need gross premiums, you need unearned premium reserve, you need outstanding loss reserve, you need quota share you need reinsurance information, because you are going to take some credit for the or credit for the reinsurance session. In this case, it's a quota share type thing, but you can have whatever type of reinsurance. And then I have an average claim and then a coefficient of variation of the claims, and that's it. And then I have reserve runoff patterns. I'm going to need these to calculate the best estimate liabilities. So these are the inputs that you need. Nothing about individual cash flows of all the products. Nothing about non-onerous and onerous. Nothing like that. Just information that you already have, right? So nothing new. You have this information in your, and these are aggregate numbers, right? And that's it. I will not do the R implementation because I want to show you some other things. But basically, this is in this for this set of numbers, I have the following results. I have a premium and reserve risk, and these amounts are in USD. So these are because this is, I think this is USD as well. Yeah, these are dollars. Okay, so the premium is the net earned premium. Net earned premium is $12,000. Okay, in this particular example. The premium and reserve risk, the first element, is 21,800. Lapse risk is 0 because I said, well, there's no lapse risk here. Catastrophe is with the appropriate factors, etc., is 10,000. So 21 plus 10, that's 31. But then I have some diversification benefit. And I have my combined risk of 26. Now 26 can be compared against the net written premium of 15,700 and or a net earned premium of 12,000. Okay, so the combined risk as a percentage of the net earned premium is 214%. Okay, so I have twice as much as a solvency capital required as net earned premium. Okay. Now this is I cannot reach any conclusions from this table. This is just what it is with this set of numbers. And but the good thing is that I now that I built my model, I can play with these numbers and produce tables that I want. Now you're going to ask, why do I have R implementation as opposed to Excel implementation? I think because I have comments about the procedure and things like that, so I don't forget what's going on with the calculation. Because in R, it's very easy to write full commentary about what you're doing. For that matter, also in Excel, you can write comments and everything, but Excel starts to look a bit disorganized when you write a lot of text and combine it with numbers. So I like R. Any question here? All right, so let's move to the last one, which is number. No, we still have number. This was 10. We have 11 and 12, right? Do we have 2? Yes, we have 2. Number 11, but these are not so long. 11. Aqui. Okay. But I don't know why. For what? Yes. Yes. Yeah. Or I can, puedo usar mi computer. Sí.
Você vai passando aqui e daí depois quando ele conseguir que o rapaz
Ok.
não tá lá,
Ok.
daí a gente
Aquí,
consegue
local. Ok,
um local.
local. Ok. Ok. Once. Ok. Okay, so okay, what's next is I think we have to wait a little bit. Is about the internal functions. Okay, now Solvency II defines some internal functions, and this is part of the governance. Okay, so you have on the one hand you have heavy quantitative requirements, but this is just one part, and
Você só vai usar a apresentação no momento, não vai usar o sistema.
no, sí,
Vai usar o sistema?
sí, sí,
Ah, tá. Então é por aqui mesmo, só que a gente não consegue espelhar.
okay.
Agora, se você for voltar para a apresentação e quiser espelhar nos monitores,
Mhm.
daí eu volto isso daqui para lá.
Ah,
Tá bom?
okay, okay. Ah, pero necesito eso, ¿no? Para. Ahorita es. Ahora es.
Para a apresentação.
Sí, presentación. Okay. So I was saying, the quantitative part is just one aspect, but there are other aspects that are equally important, and that is, for example, the governance, the corporate governance. And then they say, well, you need to have certain functions, and these functions are basically what we are going to talk about. So again, we have seen this chart before, so we were focusing on quantitative measures, modeling, etc. And now let's talk about the one in the middle, corporate governance and ORSA. Okay. Now these are the functions, the so-called. First of all, you need to establish a system of governance. Okay, which are articles. These are the articles in the directive, 41 to 50. And there's one that is called 45, the ORSA, which is very important. ORSA stands for Own Risk and Solvency Assessment. You have to do a report and evaluate in your own words, with your own judgment, your situation. So one thing is the quantitative requirements, the other is the ORSA. So the ORSA, you put a lot of text and you say, well, we believe that our company is in this situation, etc. And we have these capabilities of measuring risk. We are perhaps improving this or these whatever systems, and then you have to put commentary on 4 critical functions that you need to have. You need to have a risk management function, and believe it or not, in the past, many companies, many insurance companies didn't have a risk management function. And also, many companies didn't have so-called chief risk officer, CRO, chief risk officer. Chief risk officer started to become popular, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, maybe longer than that, for the large companies. But not everybody had a chief risk officer. Now, Solvency II changed that. Many companies have now chief risk officer and a formal risk management function. They also need to have an internal control function, Article 46. They need to have an internal audit function and also an actuarial function. Okay, look at this guy, very, very strong. Okay, so basically, the risk management is about the different procedures, strategies, reporting. The target is to identify and to monitor, measure the individual risks and then the aggregated risks and their interdependencies, right? So you have to be able to identify, measure, monitor, report, all these things. And then these are the typical areas of coverage of the risk management function. Basically, the ALM, right? Underwriting, reserving, that's clear. Investment, particularly if you deal with derivatives, or what did we say? Derivativos embutidos, right? Embutidos, yeah. That's very very funny, because embutido in Spanish means salami, or that's the same. Okay. Liquidity and concentration risk management, operational risk management, these are the typical areas, right? And of course, reinsurance, right? Then internal control function. Well, the law says you need to have an effective internal control function that includes these areas: administrative, accounting, also an internal control framework, reporting arrangements at all levels, and then a compliance function. What is a compliance function? A function that makes sure that you are complying with laws and regulations, right? So this is necessary to have. Including, of course, the Solvency II, right? Then the next one would be the internal audit, right? So in audit, you can have audit that is internal and audit that is external. Normally, everybody has external audit, but internal audit is also necessary. So you need to evaluate the efficiency and the adequacy of the internal control, and then to basically to come up with your recommendations and the actions that need to be taken to alleviate any problem that could be present in the company. And then last but not least, the actuarial functions. And then here you have 2 pages of things that you need to do. So it's very detailed in the things that you have to, your actuarial function needs to be to take care of. And then they don't say you need to have an actuary, right? And they were debating that, right? Do you need to have a qualified actuary or certified actuary or thing? No. At the end, they decided, no, you don't need to have an actuary. You need to have an actuarial function, which is different, because an actuarial function could be one person, or could be one team, or one department, or nothing, could be outsourced. So you can even have no actuaries in your company and outsource the actuarial function. And then what they say about the persons carrying out the actuarial functions, do they need to be actuary? No. They need to be knowledgeable about actuarial theory. But could be anything. Could be, I don't know, philosopher who is very good with actuarial formulas, and that qualifies because This is what they say. Now, there was a lot of discussion between the countries whether to require an actuary or not. So there's no such thing as appointed actuary under the Solvency II world. No, only, and I think this, at the end, this is my personal point of view is that this is positive, because the minute the regulator starts saying who is an actuary and who is not an actuary, then you are basically the profession is doing whatever the regulator says. And my personal view is that the profession needs to basically to grow and to recognize what are the the knowledge, the body of knowledge that needs to be learned for aspiring actuaries, and in my view the profession should be self-regulated, but that's only an opinion, right? So they concluded no need for appointed actuary, no need for just demonstrate that you have the actuarial function. And then this actuarial function should coordinate the calculation of technical provisions, ensure the appropriateness and adequacy of the methodologies and underlying models, as well as the assumptions made in the calculation of technical provisions, assess the sufficiency and quality of data, and so on and so forth. But also express an opinion about the underwriting policy, express an opinion about reinsurance. So this is something that needs to be carried out by the actuary. Contribute to the effective implementation to the risk management system, etc. Right? So here we have words like data, quality of data, and things like that.
Your view, when you see express an opinion, the overall underwriting policy,
Yeah.
includes pricing.
Yes, including pricing, yes. Yeah. Well, but in many companies the actuary is doing the pricing, right? But yeah, it includes pricing. Modeling, etc. And then it even continues in the next page. This is what the law says. The actuarial function shall be carried out by persons who have knowledge of actuarial and financial mathematics, commensurate with the nature, scale, and complexity of the risk inherent on the business of the insurance company, and are able to demonstrate the relevant experience with applicable professional and other standards. So, no word about qualified actuary or appointed actuary or member of IBA, nothing, right? That's the language they use. Okay. So that's about it regarding the internal functions. But what about outsourcing functions? Well, if you outsource, then you are still responsible. All right. They call the supervisory body is responsible, or the management is responsible anyway, even if you outsource. And outsourcing shall not be undertaken if your risk increases, or if this impairs the quality of the system of governance, or the whatever, or undermining conditions and satisfactory service to policyholders, whatever the case might be. So you need to outsource basically to consultants whose interests are not misaligned with your own interests, right? But it is possible. So you can have potentially an insurance company without certain functions and then outsource them, right? And believe me, there are quite a lot of insurance. The number of insurance companies in Europe is quite high. How many are there in Brazil? 100 and what? 120? Okay. How many countries are there? How many countries? How many companies are there? Insurance companies are there in the European Union? 1,000? 28 countries, 1,000? Well, if Brazil is one country and has 130, that's a proxy, no? We can calculate something based on that. That's all the data that I have. What do you think is the number? 1,000? Any other number? Come on, at this point of the workshop, we should be better at estimating how many companies. 2,000. No, 5,000. Yeah, the winner is 5,000. 5,000. Yeah. Now, and you know, can you name 10 European companies? Let's see. You have AXA, Generali, Allianz, Aviva, Prudential, Zurich, yeah. Okay, Legal and General, Munich Re, yeah. So if we, yeah, HDI, Thailand, Generali, Mafre, yeah. So I'm sure that if we spend a few minutes, we can come up with 50 companies. Cardiff, yeah. We may come up with, and I've done this experiment with people, no? If we spend, we start writing down the names of the companies, we arrive at about 50 names, and 50 is what? 1%. 1%, right? Now, if we spend I don't know, full day, we may come up with 500 companies, and that's only 10%, which means that there's quite a few companies, but many companies are very small, right, and very specialized. Anyway, not another statistic. The average number of actuaries in life companies in Europe. Average number of actuaries, life companies in Europe. 5? 2. And the number, and in a non-life average number of actuaries, 1. Which means that you know, in order to have an average of 1 or 2, you need to have a lot of companies with 0 actuaries. So 0 actuaries means that they outsource the actuarial function. Of course, you have these giant companies with hundreds of actuaries. Right? Okay, the use test. If you develop your own model, right, you have to demonstrate that you use it. So it's here, the use test, between the quantitative and the corporate governance. So you have to demonstrate that companies adopting a full or partial internal model should demonstrate that the model is used and plays an important role in the system of governance, which basically means you have to demonstrate that you use your mathematics, right? If not, don't develop the internal model, or develop it but don't use it, right? So management shall be responsible for ensuring that the appropriateness of the design and operations of the internal model continues to appropriately reflect the risk profile of the company. So that's something that needs to be done. Documentation, right? Also very important. You need to the documentation should include and this is for internal models only. You need to basically to document your model, your quality standards, calibration standards, profit and loss attribution, etc. And with all the theory, assumptions, and everything, all the mathematical bases, all the formulas, everything needs to be documented. And then you need to send this to the regulator for approval. They take a few months to come back to you, and then you can use your model, right? That's the way it works. And again, the idea to develop an internal model is that it's very likely that you will get a capital requirement that is lower. Okay. Then there's something called fit and proper requirements. Okay, fit and proper requirements means that the management should be fit and proper. Okay, what's the meaning of that? Well, managers or people responsible for running the business should have the right qualifications, right? Knowledge, experience, right? So that they should be a prudent manager. So that's fit. What's proper? They should have good repute and integrity, okay? And so, for example, they should have no criminal record. They, they should be you have to demonstrate that you need to go to the police and get a certificate that you don't have any criminal record to be in a management position in an insurance company in Europe, all right? so if there are changes, this needs to be notified. So it's the regulator here is becoming, very preoccupied that you have the right people, qualified people, knowledgeable, experienced people in the management of an insurance company. Okay, which makes sense. I guess it's okay, right? Should be no problem. I was reading there's an article in The Economist this week, talks about the oil industry in Latin America, and all these very big companies, Pemex in Mexico, PDVSA, I think Petrobras is also mentioned, and all these inefficiencies, and all these for example, they say that in PDVSA is run by a member of the military who has no experience at all in the oil industry. But anyway, there's all types of stories about public companies, and then this would be exactly the opposite. What they want here is to have people who are knowledgeable about insurance, right? Which is natural. How can it be otherwise? But if the idea is to protect the solvency and the consumers, well, you need good people. All right. I don't think there are any questions here because this is pretty much normal. But if there are, okay. So let's go to number 12. 12. 12. Yeah, which is the last one, by the way. I also have a couple of solvency and solvency conditional, solvency and financial condition reports, so real life examples. Okay, so first, I think one of the underlying ideas is the so-called enterprise risk management. And what is enterprise risk management really about? It's about three things. Number one, what the regulator wants, right? What SUSEP wants, right? So this is called compliance. Number two, how is risk capital determined, right? So of course you have a paid capital, and also you have something that is called risk capital, right? Or solvency capital requirement, whatever, right? So how is this risk capital going to be determined? That's chapter number 2. Chapter number 3 is your internal practices. How do you manage risk? So that these are the big philosophical questions, and this is what ERM is all about, okay? ERM stands for Enterprise Risk Management. And here's a definition: process by which companies identify, measure, manage, and disclose all key risks to increase value to stakeholders. Or it's the ability to capture and manage all necessary risk-related data, okay? So these are clean definitions. I think everybody's basically in the same channel. We understand what they mean, and the idea that we are, we absorb risk from society, so we should be good at managing risk, at understanding risk, and the solvency ideas are good. The formulas, don't get distracted by all these factors and formulas and everything, but look at the big picture. What is the idea, the underlying idea of the Solvency II directive? Okay, and so this would be basically the management of risk and also the determination of the quantitative requirements to stay solvent. So Solvency II is about solvency, and IFRS 17 is about performance, measuring performance. So you don't measure performance with Solvency II, or you don't measure capital with IFRS 17. Both have the ability to measure risk, to measure performance and capital, but one is specifically for solvency capital purposes. The other is specifically to measure performance or profitability. Okay. Now here are some directives. So in the level 1 directive, this is the official name of Solvency II, 2009. 2022/138/CE. Well, this is the Spanish name. EC is the English name for European Commission. Then we have a level 2. So the level 1 is the general overarching legislation in Europe, right? Then the level 2, also at the European level, is the definition of all these things: the risk management system, the scope of the risk management function, lots of things to read about. And then you have a level 3, which is the role of the board and role of management, the risk management policy, management function, and then the specific risk management policies. Everything well detailed. Everything is available in the 23 languages spoken in the European Union, including, of course, Portuguese. And talk to me if you want to have access to any of these documents. Components of risk management: architecture, which are the specifying who does what are the roles, responsibilities, who does the communication, who does the risk reporting, etc. Strategy: what's the appetite, risk appetite, right? Am I going to be very aggressive company or more conservative, etc. Okay, and the philosophy defined in the risk management policy. So the risk management policy is used to be a book or a collection of books detailing all the practices regarding risk management. Nowadays, many companies have that in an intranet or some platform to have access to this policy. And then the protocols. Protocols are guidelines, are rules, procedures, methodologies, tools, techniques. Okay, so architecture, strategy, protocols, so the components. Then here we have an overall structure of the enterprise risk management system. So we have a corporate governance and board oversight. We have internal control. We have the implementation, right? And then the framework. The framework starts with the design of the process, implementation, monitoring, and improvement. Okay, and the risk management policy. Well, basically, we have policy and policy statement. Who does what? What are the typically we think of for example, underwriting guidelines. Companies have underwriting guidelines of some sort. What kind of business we write? What are our limits? Underwriting limits, and so on and so forth. So at least the underwriting policy is fairly well established and documented. Also, reinsurers sometimes offer risk underwriting guidelines and or underwriting manuals. This is typical, but this goes farther than just underwriting. Goes to who does the reporting, the communication, etc. Okay. Now, ORSA reports. ORSA is part of is a report, right? You evaluate your own situation, and you have to include many things. The overall solvency needs, taking into account your risk profiles, your appetite, your tolerance. Then compliance, and then if there are significant deviations with which the risk profile and the company are different from the underlying solvency capital requirement. So this has cost a lot of work and effort for companies because they are not used to that. They are used to, okay, I need to calculate this formula, I calculate it, I send it to the regulator. They are used to responding to specific requirements. But when they say, oh, you have to construct a report, they don't know where to start, right? Because the other thing is, can you give me a template? And Solvency II says, no template. You have to tell me what is your own situation, right? And again, this is difficult. Now, An ORSA report should include answers to these issues, understanding a risk profile. Does your company have sufficient capital to support your business plan? Will companies stay within risk appetite going forward? What risks are not covered? What scenarios could cause solvency issues? Key sensitivities to capital, etc. All these things have to be included. Okay. All right. This is a possible outline of an ORSA report, and I say here, I outline here the word possible. Okay. Some principal and secondary conclusions, overall solvency needs, quantitative results, qualitative results, difference compared with the solvency capital requirement. So the solvency capital requirement is the quantitative requirement, but then you do your own assessment, okay, the way you like it. Changes made to during the ORSA process, capital management methods and main assumptions. Okay. Now this one is very interesting, and I think with this we are going to close. Basically, we are here in the third one, disclosure and transparency. So companies are required to be transparent and to disclose information to the public. Okay. And there's something called Solvency and Financial Condition Report. Okay. So they must publish this on an annual basis, and they should include a description of the business and performance of the company, description of the governance, description of the risk exposure, concentration, mitigation, sensitivity, description of assets, technical provisions, and other liabilities, and methods used for the valuation. Okay, so I decided here to show you one, right? Which we will do in a minute. For this is the standardized format. Okay, so in your report, do this. Cover these areas. Okay, and this is very standard. All companies have this outline, or most companies have this outline. Okay, and also they have nice looking reports like the one that we're looking here. So which one you prefer? Which one you like to look at? AXA. Both. Well, let's start. The first person responding said AXA, so let's look at AXA. We are going to look at both quickly. Okay, so which computer am I working with? My computer? I don't know. No, we're using, I need now my computer, yes. And this is going to be fairly fast, and we are finished. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yikes. 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 Ay, ay, ay. No, let me, yeah, I print that, that this no, I have a little technical problem. Let me see if I have, let me see if I can, little technical problem. Okay, not such a problem. I have it here. Okay, so this is the AXA report. Of course, this is because this is for the general public. And by the way, I'm not breaking any rules because this is available. Go to axa.com and you can download it. All right. So it's information of the public domain, right? No secrets here. So, and again, since this is for the public in general, and nobody reads this. The only one reading these documents is I'm the only one reading them. Okay. So, okay, a few things to notice. Yeah, nice format, 72 pages. Okay. So this is what happened last year. Of course, 2019 is not ready yet. Again, the outline that I told you about. Okay. Maybe a little bit. Yeah. The outline that I told you about. For example, they have market risk, and I like to read these things because this is what I do, right? So it's yeah, solvency and financial condition report. Yeah, nice, story about AXA, presentation of information. Looks like an annual report, but it's not an annual report. Okay, summary, our risk profile, our risk, business, and performance. So, for example, revenue, and these are millions of euros. Okay, so look at the size of AXA. 102. This would be billions, right? 102 billions in revenue, okay? And then the solvency ratio, look at the solvency ratio, 193%, right? 193%. Now, on funds, they have 58 billion. This is, the first paragraph says euro million, the second paragraph, euro billion. And the solvency capital requirement, so AXA to operate needs 30 billion euros, right? And they have in hand 58. So 58 divided by 30 is 193. Used to be 205, went down in 2018. And they explain me why. Business performance. So they tell me about here's the address and telephone number of the supervisory authority. So they report to the Autorité de Contrôle Prudentiel et de Résolution, which is the French regulator, etc. So lots of good things, and you learn a lot. So there's a couple of Solvency II books that I can recommend to you. There's one who I know the author who was involved in the development of Solvency II. He's a lawyer, and the title of the book is Solvency II is Good for You. I can recommend you this book. It's for managers, etc. All types of right. So if you want to know what's the actuarial function in AXA, go to page 17, for example. Yeah. Okay. So you need to go to pages 209 to 211 of the annual report. Okay, but at least there's a. Yeah. Okay. So the risk profile. So they have an internal model. All right. Whatever. Okay. Market risk. I'll go to the annual report. I don't know. Not yeah. Well, some key figures. And even they have a correspondence between IFRS and Solvency II. This is interesting. Right. You see here the reserves, and then the carrying value IFRS 17, IFRS after reclassification and fair value under Solvency II. So this is good, I think. Best estimate liabilities. Etc. Risk margin. No. Okay, you get the idea. There's 72 pages of worth of information. There are things that can be learned from. Okay, capital structure, eligible own funds. No, that's the idea. Okay, I stop here. Let's look at the Allianz. Let's see if. Okay. All right. So. Okay. So Germany and France. Huh? This is Germany. Yeah. Not too many colors here, but it's okay. It's okay. Allianz Group. Okay. Allianz. Okay. And same structure, business performance, system of governance, risk profile, etc. Okay, same structure. Then executive summary. Yeah, the blue, which is this blue. This is very typical of Allianz. Yeah, a lot of words here. Yeah. I like better when they put tables, I think. 229, right? 229 the solvency. And AXA, what was it in AXA? 195. So strongest capital position, stronger capital position in the case of Allianz. This year at least. Or last year rather. Yeah. Not too many tables here. And then they also their supervisor is the BaFin. It's called BaFin. This thing here. BaFin, you see the mail, BaFin. Bundesanstalt für Finanzdienstleistungsaufsicht. Okay. Okay, so here we have also the numbers. These are euro thousands. Okay. Then we have, but what's the definition of performance? I don't know what they are. No. Yeah, lots of words. In this case, 200 pages. Okay, so Allianz wrote 200 pages. AXA wrote 72 pages. Okay, so but this also reveals that Germans. I live in Europe. I know that Germans like a lot of information, so they give you plenty of it. That's good. Okay, so you get the idea. Again, if you want to have these reports, let me know, or go to the internet, and any company, any of these companies that we mentioned, Aviva, whatever, you can download the solvency and financial condition reports and read a little bit about what's Solvency II, how it is communicated. This is in a way much better than a textbook, because you have all the big picture of the different functions. And the different the assessment of risk is not the ORSA. The ORSA is for the regulator. This is for the general public. So this is the idea here, is to be transparent, right? So yeah, let's say, just to compare, let's say what they say about the actuarial function. Committee. Where's the actual function? I think this is. Eh? 38. 38, okay. Actual function, okay, they say more. Yeah. Yeah, they say more. Let me magnify for better visibility. The actual function and its setup are governed by the Alliance Group actual policy. The group actual function has a direct reporting line to the Board of Management and provides an actual function report on an annual basis, which comprises statements on a proper governance framework as well as on the essence and results of its key tasks. This includes coordinating and validating the calculation of technical provisions for the Solvency II market value balance sheet and the IFRS balance sheet, to provide an opinion on the underwriting and reinsurance strategy, just as we read, and to contribute to the risk management, just as we read. Okay, so this is much better, I think. The local actual functions are regularly assessed by the group actual function, and results are communicated to the Board of Management as well as to the respective local equivalent. Okay. Good. And then just for comparison purposes, let's look at quickly at the market risk. And this is page 51. Okay. Oops. 51. Okay. Okay, so yeah, risk measurement. Here they mentioned the value at risk, 99.5 confidence level. Yeah, basically this is standard text, nothing very relevant. Yeah, and that's it. Yeah, no tables, nothing. It's a little bit boring, but anyway, it's what it is. So this is basically the idea of I go back. This is the oh, I need to go back to presentations 11, 12. Mm-hmm. Okay. Right. So we have the the idea was basically to show what the what two big companies are doing. Nothing relevant about this. These are probably the biggest companies in the world, and just to make a comparison, but that as a piece of advice that you can read and learn a lot by reading this Solvency of Financial Control report. Okay, in that case, I think we're now finished, unless there are any last questions. Well, it was very nice. Mucho obrigado pela sua paciência, pela sua atenção. Foi verdadeiro prazer estar aqui em São Paulo com todos vocês. Certamente nos veremos novamente no futuro. Okay? Muito obrigado.
Funcionando. Muito obrigado, guys, pela paciência. Quero, obviamente, foi um sucesso total, na minha opinião. Espero que vocês tenham esse ponto de vista também. Gostaria muito de agradecer a CNseg. Sem ele seria absolutamente nada. IBA também fez uma força enorme. Mandaram diretoria também. Teve Raquel também, de diretoria de IBA também, ontem aqui. Society of Actuaries, para ter confiança no Brasil, interesse em IFRS 17. Obviamente, eles apoiaram bastante esse conceito também. Obviamente, vocês, que sem vocês, senão seria meu esquisito, eu e o Carlos, falando com uma sala vazia. Carlos, obviamente, o grande estrela aqui, tá? O Brad Pitt dessa conferência, tá? Eu acho que eu fiz muito esforço para fazer uma maratona, não? Mas acabou em 4 horas para mim. Ele 3 dias, é impressionante, não? Tem uma grande futuro coisa de resistência, Carlos. Algumas notinhas, apresentações, vai estar no site do CNseg, começar dia 18 de julho, ok? Vai mandar um CNseg, vai mandar um e-mail com as fotos também. E também avaliação, por favor, seja honesto. Não sei se vai ganhar Carlos ou também o café, que sempre foi impressionante a qualidade de café também. Acho que Carlos vai ganhar. A respeito dos cálculos, que Carlos mostra coisas bastante complicadas e bem inovador, porque, para ser sincero, nunca vejo números de IFRS 17. Por favor, manda um e-mail para ele diretamente, se você quer receber a planilha, ok? Coisa de copyright e Society of Actuaries, basicamente Carlos atrás do Excel e LL, para ser sincero, tá? Eu sou o ponto de contato de SOA para o Brasil, qualquer coisa, dúvida, problema, manda para mim. Eu não sei tudo, mas eu conheci alguém que conhece alguém, tá? Márcio Palmeira em frente também no actuário da Society of Actuaries de baseado no Rio de Janeiro. Society of Actuaries tem uma reuniões anuais, uma vez por ano. Espero que vocês gostem da qualidade da apresentação de Carlos. Imagina, final de outubro, vai ter 4 dias de festa actuarial em Toronto. E Toronto, hoje em dia, Canadá, é muito fácil para pegar um visto online. Em 5 minutos já está em Toronto. E não está muito frio ainda. Tá, os 4 dias lá. Então, eu penso, já conhece pelo menos 5 pessoas no Brasil que vão participar lá. Eu vou apresentar ao Marco Antônio Ponte, de IBA também, ele vai apresentar. Você vai esse ano?
Sim, sim.
Ele vai apresentar também, ok? Espero que você fique motivado agora para 4 pessoas. Vocês podem ir à Society of Actuaries em Toronto, obviamente. Este é basicamente a segunda apresentação de SOA no Brasil. Ano passado foi Rio de Janeiro, Universal Life, e este ano São Paulo, obviamente, IFRS e Solvência II. Espero que não seja o último. Ok? Finalmente, a respeito dos certificados, estamos trabalhando com logísticas disto, como você vai apresentar. Se vai ter certificados, ok? Estou trabalhando com a Ana justo para fechar logisticamente. E temos e-mails de todo mundo aqui, obviamente. Ok? Então, muito obrigado, guys. Ok? Valeu. Tchau.
Okay.